Hello. I am making this video for you. If you felt called to this, to click on this, if you feel a gravitational pull, if you are just curious and you're listening and there's some piece that speaks to you, then the message will have been delivered the way it was intended. First, I will call on our guardians and guides, and then I will draw two cards, and I will see what they have to say for you today. Guides, guardians, spirit of the elements, ancestors, and those who are wise and beyond this world. Bring us a message for our viewers. This is a deck that I did the art and notes for. I've spent about 11 years studying the I Ching, and it took me almost 5 of those to make this deck. Usually I just kind of wait and see where I feel a magnetic pull on the spread. Here we have resolve. You are determined to expose something or someone. Maybe it's a weakness or a crime, a struggle within the self or with others. This is both a righteous and dangerous act. Be purposeful in how you make your condemnation and how much you expose. A little generosity goes a long way toward preserving your dignity. This is resolve. You might look and reflect on the elements while I shuffle again and draw one more card. Below we have heaven. The heaven element is associated with kind of a primal creative urge, will, forcefulness, direction, having a goal. It's very driven sort of force. And then water is above heaven. Water is has a tendency to accumulate within itself, to accumulate with others. It flows. It has a sort of flowing direction, movement energy to it. It's associated with sort of a social emotional aspect of the self and of the world, conversation, dialogue, community, joy. It has a calm, complacent pleasure aspect to it as well. And that is above heaven, and there's this sort of fog lifting, right? Revealing something. So think of how those elements might work together in your particular situation with any question that might be heavy on your heart right now. We'll draw the other card. The way the I Ching readings generally work is you have two hexagrams and the changing lines, the lines that need to change in order for them to, one to change into the other is sort of giving you a sense of the process that you're in, and your position within that process. Okay. I feel quite a bit right here. Adornment, hexagram 22. Elegance and cleverness are nice, useful even for a short while. I feel like we pulled this last week. Maybe it wasn't that soon recently. The advice of this hexagram is about taking on the correct amount of attachment to superficial aspects of the personality. It is acceptable to adapt how we carry ourselves to the circumstances to an extent. But it is a trap to begin using the persona as a mask that prevents us from deeper human development. And so here we have resolve transitioning into adornment, 43 and 22. The lines that have to change in order for that to happen are two. So the second line goes from solid to broken. And then, oh gosh, all three of these top lines had to change, the whole top element. So we have heaven transforming into the sun. Those two have the sky and the sun are like brothers, is also a saying from the I Ching. And so those two have a close relationship with each other. The sun sort of is this piercing, channeling, harnessing, brings clarity, shines focus onto a something in specific. Um, and so that is the transformation happening on the bottom. On the top, we have water transforming into earth. And earth gives form. It is solid. It has boundaries that are very clear where water may not. Um, that's the sort of transitions that are happening with the elements there. So think a little bit about your situation as I look up the lines and how those elemental changes may pertain to you and your question. Because we have four changing lines, we are actually we're in adornment, right? So we have fully moved out of the process of revealing or the resolve, the sort of exposure phase of our situation, and entered into this adornment phase, which is really about how we're carrying ourselves, how we're presenting ourselves. There's a lot of themes in this one about authenticity and masks. That idea that the personality has these superficial faces as well as the inner depth, and they're not always aligned or matched up, depending on what circumstance or situation we're presenting ourselves in. So we're going to look at the lines in adornment that are not changing, which will be 1 and 3. That will be the two. But first, let's see, adornment, hexagram 22. I'm just pulling those up for us. So other names for adornment are persona, grace, decoration, elegance, luxuriance, public image, beauty, conceit, veneer or facade, superficiality. There's a strong connection, as well as I said there was a strong connection to authenticity, but there's also a strong connection to the ego or vanity, kind of wrapped into this particular hexagram. So one grace has success. In small matters, it is favorable to undertake something. Small undertakings are beneficial. A little beneficial to have someplace to go. It's beneficial to go somewhere in a minimal way. That is sort of the general gesture or advice. The advice to this superior individual, this more spiritual advice, is that a Chunzu uses brightening the multitudinous standards without daring to sever litigating. The superior man clarifies ordinary affairs, but does not judge lawsuits. So there's a strong judgment aspect to this, a strong discernment aspect without going so far as the court, seeking out the actual law, right? Thus does the superior man proceed when clearing up current affairs. He dare not decide controversial issues in this way. Um, so I think there's also sort of like an amount of using your own judgment, but also not um, taking that judgment outside of the law, right? Not this is not a rebellious advice. This is a within limits sort of advice. That small, um, the small benefit, the small undertaking that was mentioned before, goes hand in hand with that in the same way. Use wit and charm whenever that is appropriate, but rely on shrewd discernment when making a serious choice. There is nothing wrong with having some style, but not so much that you become identified with that role, and the role is making your decisions for you rather than them coming from something um, deeper beyond that role. Interesting. So you may be feeling right now, and I'm just sort of feeling this message coming to me, connecting lines. You may be feeling trapped within a role at the moment. You may have a role that you have a very strong commitment to, that is very important to you, and that is actually kind of defining you right now. And it's easy to let that role make the decisions. It's easy to feel like, oh, I don't actually have a decision because this is my role. And what you're being encouraged to do right now with this reading is to realize, to see, to become aware that you do have a decision to make. You do have a choice that you can make in that situation, and that you may need to see past that role in order to make that choice. So we said we were looking at lines 1 and lines 3. I'm going to quickly move over before I start looking at lines and just read a little from a different page. I tend to start and really rely in these videos on Mothering Change as well as James DeCorn's site, because it gives me a lot with just 2 pages to work with. I don't have to pull out all my books. So some of the meanings are beautify, embellishment, ornamentation, letting your appearance reflect your inner worth, displaying courage. There is a strong need right now to access bravery, access courage um, to examine yourself and what you believe beyond that persona, to really search your own heart. There's some inner work that you're doing right now. And that work has a strong theme of independence from roles that you're playing. My light went out. Focus on your inner, um, on how these inner realities are manifesting outwardly in the world. How is your inner reality manifesting in the outward world? That is a question you should be asking yourself right now. You can bring harmony to this outer world by doing this inner searching for yourself and extending that search into your outward reality. Line 1, adorn yourself with courage and independence. So I was there before I got there. Make your own way. You have been seriously punished. Try to hear that lesson. Do not be infected by other people's fear and confusion. Do inner work and do not keep running after impossible things. Stabilize your desires. There is an ever-flowing source of energy available now. Cooperate with the ongoing process of change. And I just read word for word from Mothering Change, line 1. I'm going to look at DeCorn's. He has several translations kind of side by side, which I think is really interesting and helpful. When you're working with a text from another language, you can really start to see where there's a kernel of truth that kind of works through many perspectives. And then some things are really leaning in a particular perspective, which might speak to you more than another. Lending grace to his toes, leaves the carriage and walks. So this is the metaphor we have, adorning the feet, leaving the car and walking. adorns his toes, leaves the carriage behind and walks. It's like put on your shoes and walk. Um, that's the line one message. Commentaries on this one. You may be tempted to create a falsely flattering public image. And a simple demeanor is more gracious and fitting for this position. Avoid false pretenses or false appearances. Dubious shortcuts, ostentatious behavior. Avoid those things. It's important that you rely on your own worth. And so, this feet in this case, your carriage has become somewhat useless to you. You're leaving the carriage for a reason. Your feet, you need to stand on your own feet and walk your own path, make your own decisions, right? Rely on your intuition. That's line one. And in this case, with this future hexagram, having moved from this to this, normally I would consider line one a past line, but I believe line one is our present line, and line three is going to be a future line for us. So this is kind of where we're at. We're learning to stand. We're being urged to begin to stand. That is the next and most current relevant advice is that you stand and walk on your own feet. Line three. Graceful and moist, constant perseverance brings good fortune. His adornments are such that he appears to glisten. Righteous determination maintained up to the very end brings good fortune. Having adorned and moisturized oneself, perseverance will bring good fortune. These are the different translations. Um, in a sense, this is really just an amount of like having prepared yourself. That this is the adorning thus word in language is that this is the appropriate amount of adornment for your situation that you're going to be sitting into, leaning into, that it is of good fortune to adorn yourself in this way. I'm going to look at our other one. So Mothering Change reads, adorned and sleek, impregnate yourself with this. An ever-flowing way. This can open the way for you and all your descendants. Fighting through obstacles is a long, arduous task, but the drudgery will be worth it in the end. Eliminate corrupt old patterns and pursue your real desire. Do not reject this opportunity or you will be cut off for years. This can open the way for you and everything you wish for. So what I'm hearing is that this learning to stand on your feet is going to put you on the right path. If you can lean into that and persist, that we're going to leave that carriage behind. You're going to leave something behind. And that's the most fortunate path for you right now. So maybe sit and think for a bit about what it is that you're needing to leave behind and what you're going to put on your feet, I guess.